Okay, as promised, the next video is how to create a planogram of your retail space. And once again, using Illustrator. So very easily done. And they will be separate documents than your merchandising floor plan. So we will have to create two, I'm asking you guys to do two planograms, choose two walls, and just remember that, a planogram is similar to an elevation in architecture. But it just indicates the placement of retail products on the shelves or on your displays. And they're flat and they're two-dimensional, and we will be working still in half-inch scale. So here we go. File, and we are going to do, well, let's get to Illustrator and not the QuickTime that I'm using to record. Let's try that again. File, New. And then remember, we are working half-inch scale. This is already up here from when I had done this before in class as a demo. But my walls are 12 feet, so my document will be half of that, which will be 6 feet or 6 inches. And the length of the wall that I'm doing for this planogram was 28 feet, so half of that is 14, so it would be 14 inches. And at half-inch scale, that equates to 12 by 28 feet. So everything is set up ready for me, so I'm going to hit OK. And here is my 28-foot wall within my retail space. So the next thing I need to do is I want to turn my grids on so you can see that. And remember, the shortcut for that is Command apostrophe or Control, depending if you're on a PC or a Mac. I am on a Mac, so anytime I say Command and you're on a PC, hit Control. Okay, so Command apostrophe, and so there you go. So you can see the 12 by 28. And as you start putting color on the wall, and if your grid tends to blend into it, remember you can go to your preferences and you can go here. So Illustrator has its preferences here, and you can go to grids and guides there, or guides and grids, or Command K is the shortcut to pull it up, and you can go to grids and guides. And remember, you can change your color right here if you would like. And as you can see, we want a grid line every 0.5 inches, and we want one subdivision, and uncheck grid and back if yours is checked, because we want the grid on front of the drawing so we can see. So, okay, so let's get started with this. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and lock this and keep it as the artboard and add a new layer. So I'm going to do wall and do this. So there's two things you can do here. If you're just using a paint, then grab your rectangle tool, and then you can, remember, if you hold the shift key, while you click on that, this opens, and let's say your wall color may be in that family, but not quite that. Remember, if you double click on this, then you can open this up, and it gives you a little bit easier access, I think, to kind of color selection. So let's say I want to do something like that, and here it is. There's also, if you have an image or if you have a color chip or a Pantone number that you've gotten offline that you want to use, you can drag that in. Let me drag this in. It's a vintage wallpaper, so let me pull that back in. Now, if I go here and, oops, let me do this, hit V, back to selection tool, I'm going to go here and clear that. If you use the eyedropper tool, which is right here, or if you hit the letter I, it'll take you to the eyedropper tool, and you can sample. So let's say that's the color that I wanted, so I can sample out of this anywhere and get the color. So let's say I'm going to go with this. That's a little too bright. Oh, I shouldn't be so picky. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go with this one. But that's a way for you to be able to actually take a sample of this. And so let me grab this. I'm going to zoom out just a little so I can pull it down underneath the drawing. Okay, and then remember, Command 0 will bring you back to the size of the full size of the artboard on the screen. So we have that. So let's say this is the wall color that I would like, and so I'm okay, I'm done, I'm going to lock it. The next layer, what I'm going to do, if you have any wall, any trim, anything along those lines, any molding on the wall, then this is where you would do that. So let's say I want to do a white trim. You know what? I don't want to do white. I want to do off-white. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to double click on this one, kind of go here, make it a little warmer, and then pull this in just for a little off-white, so you can see that there. And I'm okay with that, so that's what I'm going to do. grab my rectangle tool and find out the height of your trim. Okay, you know, if you're working with a 4-inch trim, a 3-inch trim, 6-inch trim, whatever it might be, remember every grid on here equates to a foot in life, so halfway up is 6 inches. I'm going to do one that's about 4. So I'm going to take my rectangle and I'm going to draw like this, and then I can zoom in if I need to, and if I feel like I need to just finesse it just a little, then you certainly can. I also want to make certain that I have a black stroke if you don't already, and I'm going to put the 0.031 as the stroke weight for these so we can see it. So the same thing up here, if I'm going to have a, like maybe say it's crown molding, then I'll run across the top. It's going to be probably close to maybe 9 or 10 inches, so it'll be like this. Then what I can do is I have that across the top, and remember with crown molding I would need to draw several other lines. So I'm going to grab my pen tool, which remember the shortcut for P for pen is P. That one makes sense. So hit P, and as you can see, my pen tool pops right up. I'm going to go here at the bottom and grab this line, and I'm going to hold the shift key because that way I will make a straight line, and then I'm going to hit return. And by hitting return, what that does is it allows me to stay in the pen tool, but I can now draw another separate line that is not connected to the first one. So if that's ever happened to you. Also too, remember zoom is you can zoom in like this as well. So I'm going to hit P again and maybe do one more here. Hold the shift key so I can make a straight line. And then what I might want to do is I'm going to hit V for selection, and oh, I apologize, that's my phone. Okay, back to work. And also, so I have my pen tool up here. I want to take the fill off of those, and I want to change the stroke weight of that inside of the molding to a little thinner line. And same thing, make sure your fill's off. You do not need a fill with that. And 1/16. And so Command 0. Now you've got your molding set up, and that's if you have molding. You may only have molding on the bottom and not on the top, whatever it might be, you know, whatever you have specified in your specification sheets for your retail space, then that's what you need to draw. I'm going to get rid of the grid just so you can kind of see. So Command apostrophe, and so now we have that set up. So now I'm going to lock this. Now the next step is, I don't know if you would have a window or not. My guess is, you know, one of your walls, obviously, you would have a window for, you know, you would have a window display. But remember, anything that you draw, you're drawing inside of your retail space. So if you had a window over here, whatever you had in front of it would be facing the street inside of the store. So when you're drawing your elevation, you would be drawing the front of everything except for perhaps what your window display is. You know, but you may not even have a window, and if you don't, then go on, move forward. You don't even have to worry about this part. But for those of you who may, I'm going to go ahead and do a layer that says window. I'm going to turn my grid back on, Command apostrophe, grab my rectangle tool, and I want to choose a color, maybe a little outside color, a little blue. Nothing real bright, just something subtle. Okay, so now let's say that I have a window and it is 2 feet in and 2 feet down, so I would know counting 1, 2, then 2 feet in here, and let's say it's a foot up from the floor. So over, down 2, over 2, I'm going to start here, grab my rectangle, and let's say it is 6 feet across and 1 foot down. There I have drawn my window. Now my guess is, and it just depends on your space, if you have an older boutique, if you're using you know, an older building, maybe downtown or something like that as your retail space, then you might have, you know, beautiful little windows with a lot of you know, molding or decorative detail to them. You know, maybe in some of the more retail space, especially if you're in a mall situation, then probably not so much. But if you do, I want you to know how to do this. Now realize this is just the hole for the window. If you do have molding around your window, then you can, and let me just do this. What I'm going to do is go back to V. I'm going to copy, Command C, and then I'm going to paste in front. And then what I'm going to do is, I should have just pasted in back, never mind, but I'm just going to send it to the back. So range, send to the back. It's still selected, don't touch anything, it's still selected. Go over here to the, where's our scale tool, and I'm going to bump this up 110% and see if I like that, and hit OK. And there it is. So what ended up happening here is I was able to get the molding on the outside, and now what I can do is change this to white. But as you can see, by scaling it 110%, I don't have the actual, so we're looking at this in terms of size of the molding here versus the size of the molding here. So what you can do is you can just pull it down if you would like, and do something like this where you can get it kind of centered that way. That's if you have molding on the outside. I know that was kind of a backwards way to do that, sorry. But I paste in back instead of Command F, I paste it in front. Command B would paste in back, and then you wouldn't have to worry about sending it to the back. But however you get there, there's many paths in Illustrator to get to the same place. Please know that. So the next thing is, if you had anything decorative in terms of, divisions in the window, the same thing. I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw the framing of that. So if I have that, now the computer, if you take it, will let you know when you're centered. So I am centered. I trust the computer. So now what I'm going to do is, I want it the exact same size, so instead of trying to redraw it the exact size, I'm just going to copy, and I'm just going to paste that guy. I'm going to rotate it, and remember, as I get close to getting it horizontal, I can hold the Shift key and the computer will straighten it flat for me. And then I'm going to bring that over here, and now all I have to do is pull this in. And then, like I said, it's centered, but let's say you had it there. You can pull it up, and the computer will let you know it's centered. And then you have this. So let me turn off the grid, too, so we can see what's happening. Now, let's say, for some reason, your crossbar is in the front. All you have to do is select that one, right-click, arrange, bring to the front, and now this piece is in the front. If you have it where it is a full cross, I want to introduce another tool to you that you can use, and it's called the Shape Builder tool. When this came out several years back, it was, I actually was in an Adobe workshop, and I actually squealed out loud. This tool is amazing. It's like Pathfinder on steroids. It's great. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this one, and you're going to select this other one by holding the Shift key, and then hit Shift C, or Shift M, sorry, is the shortcut, and it'll bring you over here, and this is where the Shape Builder tool is. If you can't remember the shortcut, just come down. Here it is, Shape Builder. What you do is you click, as you can see what ends up happening, and it highlights sections. I'm going to click this section and drag it into the other section, and then I'm going to click this section and drag it into the other section, hit V for selection to get out, and there you go. So now we have it where it's crossed and we don't have a line in the front of the section of the window. So if this is something that you have, I don't know if you do or don't, but if you do have a window, you need to address it and go forward. So I'll just leave this here. The next step would be now is to start putting any of your display pieces, any tables, anything that might be up against the wall. So let's say I'm going to lock this, I'm going to add one more layer, and I'm going to displays and furnishings. There we go. And turn the grid back on. So look at your specification sheets, see what size. I'm going to do a floor-to-ceiling cabinet. Let me go ahead and do that for you. So I would check my specification. I would see what the size of it is. If mine says it's 10 feet, I'm going to count from the floor up. And let's say on my floor plan, it's 2 feet over from this corner of the wall. So I'm going to start over 2 feet. My ceiling's 12, so I would start here for 10. So I'm going to come down here 10 feet, and let's say that it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's say it's 11 feet wide. So I'm going to count over 11 and go down this way. And here's the beginning of my cabinet. Now if it's white, and what I might want to do is I want it to be that off-white color. So remember, I'm going to hit I, and I'm able to turn it the off-white, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to unlock my window because I had just used the white that was in the palette. So hold the shift key, get them both, hit I, and then sample it. So now they're all the same off-white. Now back to here, lock this, back to my displays. And so then I can see that I need to pull this down just a little. So I'm going to get all that perfected first. Okay, now remember with the planograms and what we're doing, like I said, they're similar to elevations, so they're still two-dimensional, they're flat, you don't have to worry about perspective in here. We're showing merchandising and we're showing displays. So take a look at your, at your furnishings or your displays and then start drawing accordingly. So I'm going to grab the rectangle, and let's say I have a 6-inch drop from here to here, so that's half of one of the grids. I have that. I'm not going to draw it twice. I'm just going to take it, hit the Alt key, and drag it to the bottom. And now I have it here. Let me zoom in a little. So I'm going to hold Z, draw a box around this. So we zoom into this, back to V, pull this down. It allows me, it's a little easier to draw when it is zoomed in like this. So now let's say I have this, and then let's say over here maybe it's not quite as thick. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool. Instead of being 6 inches, maybe it's going to be 4 inches. So it'll be a little thinner on the sides. So I'm going to take this, and then the same thing, hit V, takes me to selection, select it, hold the Alt key, drag, and drag it to the other side, and then, so now I have this. So this is the beginning of my cabinet. What I want to do is, if I want this one on the front, I'm going to go arrange, bring to front. So you can see that that one comes to the front, and I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. So I'm going to click on this, right click, arrange, bring to the front. So now this piece of wood is in front. Now what I have to do is think about divisions within this. So let's say that I have a division here for hanging clothes, and I'll have shelves over here for something else. So what I'm going to do is look, like I said, I'm just kind of drawing this accordingly, but look at your specification sheets and find out the sizes of things. And let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet over, there is a division. And so we have this. Now this is going to be kind of thick for such a small line, so this is where you're going to go up and change the stroke weight of that. So it makes a little more sense. Now let's say here we have shelving. So rectangle shelf, and like I said, the beauty of this is we're not doing perspective, so I don't have to think about above my horizon line, below my horizon line. We're not worried about seeing underneath the shelf if I'm looking up above my horizon line, or seeing the top of the shelf if I'm looking down below my horizon line. You know, that would be done in our perspective drawings. These are very simple two-dimensional planograms, like I said, very close to elevations, but you know, planograms in merchandising actually show merchandise in displays. So then let's say we have this, and it's 2 feet down, then I bring another one down to here. Oops. Alt key, let's try that again. Make sure I'm there. Bring another one down. And I can't stress this enough, please look at your specification sheets to know exactly the numbers and the distance between yours. Maybe I'm going to bring this one up a little. And let's say maybe these are my displays, and then I have something else down here. So At that point, if I have, let's say, I have a bar, so let's go here and maybe do something silver. Oops, it was selected. That is why that happened. Remember, Command Z is a lovely tool. I'm going to go back here, grab this, and grab a gray, and come here. And so let's say I have clothing through here, so I have my bar that might be there, and then maybe I even have another shelf up here depending on how it's built, but you'll have to look at your specification sheets and find out. I'm going to change the stroke weight that to 0.16 because it's inside of here. So now we can see the difference between that and this, and then maybe we have another bar that is right here, so I'm going to grab this bar, copy, paste, pull it down here and put it in, and we'll put merchandise on it later. Right now we're just building, and zoom in so I can get here. Right now we're just setting up the displays, and then we'll fill them up next. So here we go. So these would be shelves. Let me make sure, got to double check everything in terms of being flush. Take care of all these little details. Now that I've zoomed in, I could see. And so now I would have this. Let me turn off the grid and Command 0 to bring it to the size of the artboard. So then I would have something along those lines. Now if it was wood or wood color, then you would change it to whatever color it is. If you would like to clip, so we'd have to clip in several places as we went along. And then let's say now that maybe you had a table that was here, and so what we would do with your table, depending on what it looked like, so let's say you had a table in front of the window even. So I'm going to go here and turn on my grid, and I'm going to see that my table is 3 feet up, which I count 3 feet up from the bottom, 3 grids, and I'm going to say that my table is 4 feet, and I'm going to go one end, so it's 3 feet up. I'm going to grab this and draw the top. And like I said, this isn't perspective, so we don't have to worry about seeing the top of it so much. I'm going to zoom in. Also, I'm going to change this to 0.16. And now I'm going to grab my rectangle tool and draw this part. And also grab my rectangle tool and draw legs. So just get an idea. You'll have to see what size the legs are on your specification sheet. Now if you have a leg that's like this is fine. If you have a leg where it angles in, remember all you have to do is grab your direct selection tool, which is the white arrow, click on that one anchor point, and then use your arrow keys on your keyboard and then get it to the size that it should be. So if it's something like that, easily done. And then I'm going to turn off my grid now since I've done all this to scale so you can see what I'm doing. And I want to show you the reflection tool. It's so wonderful. I'm going to go over here, and you can see that this is a rotate, but underneath the rotate is something called reflect. I've already drawn this exactly the way I want it. So as soon as I've hit reflect, you see that this icon pops right here. What this does is I'm going to move this to where I want the computer to reflect it from. So you hold the Alt key, and here it tells me it's in the center. So all of a sudden, if you notice, the icon now has moved there. Here's the preview. Do not hit OK, hit copy. And what it does is it makes another copy and it reflects it right onto the other side, and you're done. So now what you need to do is, if there are any details in here, you have to look at yours and see what it is, but let's say there might be a little drawer here. I'm going to draw this and let the computer tell me when it's centered. And I'm probably going to change the stroke weight of that as well, just a little bit. It's on the inside. 0.08 may be too thin. Let me see. That's all right for now. And then same thing, if it has a handle, then I can draw a little handle. Depending on what the handle looks like. Back to my selection tool. Let me zoom in, take Z, go here so we can see what we're doing. And I'm going to move this center. Okay, Command 0 takes it back to here. And so then we start filling up this space with the things that may be, you know, like I said, on the floor, up against the wall. If you have lighting, then you would draw the lighting, still two-dimensional there as well. I'll do a lighting video for you separately, not in this one. This one is just about getting the basic furnishings and displays in, and then we'll start adding product and to those next. And so whatever is on your floor plan, so that would be, if this was this obviously isn't, you know, working with what I've drawn up for my demo, but you would look at your floor plan and whatever is up against this wall or up against these walls, that's what you draw. You're not worried about anything in the center of the floor, okay? It needs to be up against the wall, and how you would have displays shown on these, because then, you know, we could do something as simple as, like I said, if you did have product here, and let's say, now that I've zoomed in too, I'm going to unlock these so I can play with this just a little, and this is where you can finesse everything. Come on, guy. There we go. And the closer you zoom in, the better grasp. There we go. Better grasp you have on things. And you know, I'm just making certain everything is lining up perfectly the way I want them. And so now, like I said, if you had product, hit Z, let's zoom in here. Maybe what we could do is, I'm going to grab the rounded rectangle tool and maybe do something that might represent a folded shirt, you know, and so I have this, bring this down, use my arrows to bring it down, also change the stroke and the color. So let's say this shirt comes in this lovely, it's too close to the wall, let's go with this color. Now all I do is Alt, and then drag another one, holding the Alt key, and stack them up. And as you can see, we'll come through the drawing and we'll start filling up our shelves with shoes, accessories, whatever it is, handbags that you might have in, coat hangers, hanging clothes, all of that. And then that way a client really gets a good idea of how you plan on merchandising the product inside of the retail space. And then the last thing I wanted to show you too is, I went ahead and brought this in, so I might as well do something with it. I've got this swatch. And so if you do have wallpaper, now I've tested this out and it actually somewhat works well in terms of on top of each other and making a seamless repeat. Sometimes this is not going to happen for you and you're going to grab an image and think it's the best wallpaper you've ever seen, and then you're going to put it in and it's going to look like a grid of images, because that's exactly what it is. It's a grid. It's the same image gridded over and over and over again to fill up the space you want it. So I'm actually going to show you guys how to make seamless patterns if that is something that you would like to do, and we can do it from a pre-existing image like this. We just have to take it into Photoshop, do a little mending, do some offset, get it the way we like it, bring it back into Illustrator, boom, put it into our swatches, and then we'll have it. But I'm going to drag this in. This is how hard it is to make a swatch. Let's see. Come on in here. It's not coming in, so let me embed it. There we go. Now we have it. So if that happens, my image was not embedded, it was linked, so I hit embed, and now as you can see, my next option is to unembed it. So it's in. So what I'm going to do is delete that, and then I'm going to grab my layers, and yes, I'm still on the wall, so I'm going to grab the wall and go back here, and I'm going to click on this, and it's going to fill my space with the wallpaper. So if you have wallpaper or something along those lines, then that could be something that we could do as well. But that will be the next demo in class, as well as a next demo on the YouTube for you guys. Okay, I hope this helps you. Bye.